So guys, after learning access specifiers, now let's turn towards very important concept, which is one of the basic building block, or we can say one of the four pillar of object oriented programming concepts, that is encapsulation. So we'll be learning encapsulation, but before that, to achieve encapsulation in best way, we need one more concept to learn, and that is how to work with getter setter methods. Okay, so we'll try to understand what is getter setter methods, what is need of it, I mean, okay, and so that we will be able to achieve encapsulation as well. So here in front of you, you have one class B and you have one class A. Okay, with this simple example, I mean, we'll just try to understand why getter setter methods are required, in fact how they helps, that we'll see first of all. Okay, so here are two different classes in front of you, one is class A and another one is class B. Right now what is happening inside class A, by creating object of class B, okay, here see I have created object of class B obj is equal to new class B. So using object of class B, I am able to access value 1 of class B directly. I am trying to set some value to it, say 67. Yeah, if I want to access it, I can do that as well. Okay, so actually I don't want this to happen. Okay, I don't want this to happen. Sometime in your applications, it is required that you don't want to allow some members of your class directly gets accessed into another class like this. Okay, so I'm using object of class B, that is okay, but in other class I'm trying to access it. No, I'm trying to access member of class B directly by using its object inside class A, right? So I don't want to allow such kind of access. Okay, so you may have a question in your mind, why I don't want to allow. See, there are some real life situations while your application development or while your project implementation. Okay, take example, in your application you usually set username and password. So from user end, I mean from your graphical user interface, from your form, you try to send, I mean enter some username, you try to set some password, and somewhere else at the background that username and password gets validated. This is the routine process. No, it looks like very simple to you. Okay, but now just understand, I don't want that username and password should be directly accessible to that application which is validating it for me. Okay, take example, suppose I have some bank account and my bank account details are being referred into some other application, say Google Pay. Okay, so I don't want Google Pay should allow my account number and my balance directly, that I want to restrict. Okay, so in that situation, how we can put that restrictions? I mean, these are the real life situations where I want to restrict the data to get access directly. Likewise, same for your username and password. Okay, so your administrative task, okay, you have drafted your username and password, or take example of your OTP, bank OTP, when you do online transaction. Okay, OTP is, I mean, one of the data, and suppose OTP is being generated and is being verified, okay, and that is being used into some other application. Okay, so I don't want that other application or other class to access or generate that OTP directly. I want to restrict that. No, so in this case also, which is there in front of you, I don't want to allow this class A to access member of class B directly by using its own object. I want to restrict it. So can you just think about, can you just remember access specifiers, and can you tell me how it can be restricted? So yes, what we can do, if I want to put a restrictions on access of value 1 directly in class A, then let me declare that value 1 variable as a private variable of class B. Once I declare that variable as a private inside class B, then there would be restrictions on its accessibility in outsider class, because we have seen private members are always confidential to class, right? So since it is private right now, and though I try to create object of class B here in my other class, in some outsider class like A, okay, so over there, by using object of class B itself also, it won't allow me to set any value for value 1 variable, and this statement will generate a compilation error. Okay, so such kind of direct access I don't want to allow, but indirectly this class A has to, it needs to access that value 1 directly through object. I don't want to give any access. Okay, in this way, when I restrict like username and password should not be directly accessible to some third party application, but third party application always needs to do validation of authenticated user, no, means username and password is true or not, or it is valid or no, it needs to be checked, no, means though that third party application won't be able to access that private, what you can say, username and password directly, there would be some way using which indirectly they would access it and they would validate it against database ki these are same values that are being entered, whether user is valid or not valid, right? Means there should be some way provided in case if this another outsider class, if it wants to access a private variable of some other class, okay, then there should be some way provided, no? And what is that way? That way is nothing but writing getter and setter methods, or writing getter or setter method for that private members. I'm pardoning this point. What is use of getter and setter as a first level learner? Okay, what you should understand, what is use of getter and setter method? Getter and setter method allows some outsider class to access private variable of some other class. Understood? So how we can do that? Means if in class A, if inside class A, by using object of class B, if I want to make value 1 accessible or changeable, then what I should do, I should write getter or setter method for value 1. Okay, for value 1 variable. So what is getter method? So getter method can be called as accessor method, okay, because that would be a method, okay, that would help me to access a value of that specific variable. Okay, so these both getter and setter methods, they are public methods. They should be public compulsorily. Okay, since they would be public, in some outsider class, by using object of class B, I can definitely able to call them. Okay, but while drafting getter method and while drafting setter method, we should follow some standards. Okay, we should follow some practice. What is that? Okay, so basically getter method, okay, getter method, its name starts with get. Okay, its name will be starting with get, followed by the name of your variable for which you want to write a getter method. Now in case if I want to write a getter method for value 1, in case if I want to write a getter method for value 1, then how it should be? Let's see that. So here our private variable, if you say this, its name is value 1, okay, and if I want to write getter method for this, okay, so I'm just trying to write that method by saying get. See, this method name is starting with get, okay, and that is followed with your variable name. Are you able to see? This was your variable name, that is value 1. I had declared it as a private, okay, but while drafting this variable name, I have drafted V as a capital letter. Okay, so how you will write your getter method? Getter method name should start with get, followed by the variable name which will start its first character as a capital letter. Okay, this is the rule for writing getter method name. Okay, but apart from that, now see, get value 1, this method name itself tells you that this method is going to provide you a value of that value 1 variable. So that's why return type of that method should be same as that of the type of that variable for which you are writing this method. Okay, so here I can say value 1. Okay, value 1 is being mapped by one property. See, there are some types of properties, okay, like read only property, write only property, and read write property. Okay, so to write or to map this read write or read only or write only properties, this getter setter methods helps me. This is another utilization of it. Okay, so here if I am writing getter method for private variable value 1, then I can say this getter method name means what? Get value 1 is the property mapping for value 1. But it is what kind of property? So get value 1 is going to return, it is going to provide actual value of this value 1 variable. That's why we may call this getter method as a read only property. It is helping me to map as a read only property for value 1. Okay, so please make sure the return type of your getter method will be same as that of that private variable for which you are mapping this method. And obviously this getter method has to be public. Okay, so I have drafted it as a public. Now compulsorily it should return what type of value? Integer type of value. So as we have seen some branching statements like break and continue, likewise return is also one of the branching statement. In case if your method is returning some value, now till now in our class we had drafted some methods like accept details, show details, they were returning void. Do you remember? So we were not writing such return clause inside that method. But right now get value 1 is a method and its return type is what? Int. Means it is necessary to return, to have this return statement which is returning some integer type value. So this get method is returning same type of value as that of the type you have mentioned in its return type. So have you understood how you will write a getter method? Getter method will start with word get followed by your private variable name for which you want to write this method or this property. Okay, its return type should be same as that of that private member and it should be public method. Now inside this method it should return, you should have a return statement, okay, and make sure you will return that variable's value. Okay, see here if I say return 100, compiler will not say me anything. But that is, this is not for what this property is made. This property, this get value 1 as a getter method is made for giving me value of value 1 variable. Okay, so you have to make sure कि in return what you will return, that is the value 1. That is nothing but the value stored in value 1 variable. Understood? This is how you will write getter method. So by writing getter method, I can say I have drafted what kind of property for this private variable, that is read only property. But at the same time I want from outsider class this value 1 should be able to change as well. Okay, I want to make this value 1 changeable as well. If in outsider class or through outsider class this value 1 needs to be set to some new value, okay, that should be possible. And how it can be done? So for that purpose what we'll write, that is setter method. Okay, so setter method, as we have followed some rule while writing getter method, likewise some standard, some rule, some regulation will follow to write setter method as well, and that should start with set word followed by private variable name which will start with capital letter. Okay, and now since I am going to set some value to that private member, Okay, this value 1 is one of the member whose value I want to change or set through this setter method now. So setter method should have some formal parameter here, and that should be of same type as that of your private member type. So my value 1 as a private member, it's of what type? It's of integer type, right? So this setter method also should have some integer type parameter passed. Okay, and setter, it helps me to set the value. Okay, there is nothing to do by returning some value, right? There is no need to return, in fact. That's why its return type will be always nothing, means what? Void. Okay, and this method also should be public. Understood this part? Okay, so here inside set value 1, what task I am doing? Whatever value you have passed here, okay, that you are trying to assign to private variable value 1. Now this is what I can say writing property. I am just trying to write some value for value 1. I am trying to set or change a value of value 1 through this setter method. Okay, so for a particular private member, if I have written both getter and setter methods, then I can say that member has both kinds of property mappings done, that is read only and write only, or I should say it as a read write property. So for particular private variable, if I have both setter method as well as getter method, then what we can say, this is having, that private variable is having both read write properties. Okay, now how you will leverage these getter setter methods? Now try to understand. Till now in other class like class A, I was not allowed to access class B's value 1 as a private variable. We were getting compilation error, no? Now what we can do, we can create object of class B, and using object of class B, I can directly call getter and setter methods. See here, using object of class B, I am trying to set some value indirectly, not directly. I am trying to set value for value 1 variable indirectly. Am I able to say object dot value 1 is equal to 67? No. That's why indirectly I am getting it done through which property? That is set value 1. I am getting it done through which method? That is set value 1. So with that object I am trying to call a method set value 1 into bracket whichever value you wanted to set to that value 1 variable. Okay. So here when you call this specific method, your control will come to set value here, and it will get 67 into this V, and that V's value minus 67 will be assigned to value 1. This is how indirectly in outsider class I can access private member of some other class. This is the purpose of getter method. Okay, likewise, sorry, it is a setter method right now. Likewise, if I want to access the value of value 1 in class A, then what we could have done? We could have called getter method. So using that object of class B, I am simply saying object dot get value, and get value is not accepting any parameter, no? So when that method gets invoked, what happens? It simply goes here in this specific method, and in this method it tries to return what? Value 1. Value 1 variable, whatever value it is containing right now in memory, that value would be written, and that would be integer type, that will directly come here at this statement. Okay, and it will be getting concatenated with this statement and will be displayed on your monitor. So this is how your getter and setter methods, okay, to draft. So I hope you understood the rules or regulations or standards to be followed while writing getter and setter methods. So what is your takeaway from our last 5 minutes discussion? That is, getter and setter methods, one of the basic purposes is to access private members, private variables of class 1 or of some class into other class. Okay, so by creating object of that class in some other class, I will call that getter setter method and I will try to achieve my purpose. What is the second purpose or second intention to have getter setter methods? You can say If I have some private data inside my class and I want to generate some read-write properties or read-only properties or write-only properties for that class members, class private members, then I could have done that by using getter setter methods. See, read-write property if you want to draft means what? For that private member you will write both getter and setter method. If you want to write only read only property for that private member means what? You will write only getter method for it. And if you want to have only write only property for that private member means what? You will specify only setter method for that specific variable. And one more third important thing that you should know, one of the advantage, one of the thing for getter setter, you should note it down. That is, writing getter setter methods for your class is a best standard practice, and that is needed when you work with some frameworks further like Spring, Hibernate. Okay, so over there you will realize, like any application, inside your Spring framework or inside your Struts like framework, okay, if your application wants to inspect, okay, the data stored into your object as an entity, then what or through which way it will be done by that framework? So internally it will use something called as getter methods. Likewise, if your framework or if your application wants to change the values of your, what you can say, private data members of that entity class, then which methods will be written over there in these frameworks? That is setter methods. Another important reason in such frameworks like Spring, Hibernate and Struts, further you will experience Struts nobody uses in nowadays, but with Spring and Hibernate, if you see over there, setter methods also helps you to set, to inject some dependencies into your classes. Okay, so over there, when I want to write any class, we call it as a Pojo class. You please take it down, Pojo, okay, all capital. Okay, so Pojo class is what? It is plain, what you can say, Java object. Okay, Pojo is what? It is a plain Java object. So over there in that frameworks, you need to write a Pojo classes. So Pojo classes, what they will have? They will have all data members drafted as a private, and for each data member which is private, you will have their mapping getter and setter methods. So Pojo class gets drafted and gets built by your framework in nowadays automatically, okay, to have entity mapping done, so that they will be able to inspect the value in that object. Also they will be able to inject some values in that object. Are you understanding? So I hope you understood what is getter and setter method. Okay, so what we'll try to do now, we'll realize it practically. How to write getter setter method? We'll just see one example, see it mechanically, then we'll see one meaningful example. Okay, so guys, we are here back to our code, and same example that we were discussing on a slide. Okay, we will just try to implement it first. As I've told you, just focus on syntax right now. Okay, concept we can recover, we can revisit again. So just see here inside class B, I have declared some private member, that is what? Value 1. Okay, likewise I have some other private member, that is value 2. Value 1 is of integer type, value 2 is of string type, and both of them are private. It means using class B object here in class A, if I want to access those private members, that will be restricted for me. Means if I say object dot value 1 and I'm setting some value to this, is it allowing me to do so? It is giving error, no? Okay, why? Because that member is what? A private member. Then how I can access a private member of class B inside this class A here using object of that class B itself? Okay, so for that purpose we have already done a provision, that is we have drafted something called as getter and setter methods for this value 1 and value 2. Now for value 1, if I want to draft a getter method, how I have drafted it? Say this, we are saying it is starting with get. Its name is followed with variable name, but in that V is capital. Return type is integer and it is returning value 1. Okay. Likewise, if I want to draft write only property for it, this is a read only property. Now if I want to have a write only property also, one a setter method also, then what we'll say, that is set value 1 into bracket integer type value I have to pass. Okay, and then you will try to set it. Now here what you are able to see, you are able to see something called as this dot. So this means what? Now why we are using it? Okay, so unfortunately, fortunately, whatever you say, in this set value method I am passing integer type variable. That integer type variable name is what? Value 1. So this value 1 is what? A local variable, no? Okay, and this value 1 is what? It is an instance variable, no? Okay, so this instance variable name and what you can say your local variable name is right now same. So if I say it like this, my compiler will be confused and it will, what it will do, in this value 1, in this local variable value 1, it will try to assign that value 1 itself. I don't want that to happen. I want in my instance variable value 1, my local variable value 1 value should be assigned, right? So to avoid this is called as shadowing of instance variable. This instance variable value 1 is being shadowed, is being overlapped right now because of this local variable value 1. Why? Because local variable's name is same as that of instance variable name. So to avoid this confusion, I am telling to my what you can say environment clear cut, that is the instance variable. Instance means the object. Now which is that object? The current object with which I am going to call this method. Okay, so I am just saying this means current object, and from that object whichever value 1 instance variable is there, that I want to assign to, that I want to get initialized by value 1. So this is how we have drafted set value 1 method. Likewise for value 2 we have drafted getter and setter method here. Okay, so they are, it is of type string, no? So get value is returning string type value and it is returning value 2 variables value. Okay, likewise set value is helping you to set some value for your, what you can say, value 2 variable. We have passed string type variable, and here if you see using this object, how I can utilize that private members, how I can access this. Now directly value 1 variable or value 2 variable is not accessible, but if I want to set some value for, what you can say, value 1, I can call this set value 1 method. Okay, I am able to see it here, it's accessible to me. Why? Because it is a public. In other class I can directly access it using that class object. So I am trying to set some value, say 34. So when I call this method, I'm calling this method under influence of which object? I'm calling this method under influence of objects, obj's memory context. So whatever task, whatever behavior is going to happen, that would be affecting on whose memory? Obj's memory. So when I come to set value 1, so it will come along with a 34 as actual parameter. It will be received here inside this value 1, and whatever 34 I have passed, that is this value 1, is being assigned by this current object's value 1 variable. Okay, so current object which has got created in memory heap has two members, no, two instance members, that is value 1 and value 2. So whatever value 1 I have passed, that is 34, is being assigned to this value 1 of that current object. Okay, and likewise if you want to set a value 2 also, you could have said object dot set value 2, and that is string type value. So I'm saying it is some MNL. Okay, so it will call this specific set value 2 method, and whatever MNL value I have passed, that will come as a value 2 and it will be set to the instance variable. Okay, and if I want to access those values, if I want to see what is the value of value 1 in object, so how we can access it? We are saying system.out.println, say value 1 is, I want to see that value. So here I'm just trying to call which method, that is object dot get value 1. So get value 1 will return that value 1's variable value and will display out here. Likewise, I want to see which value, that is value 2, which is there in that object. So here I'm just trying to call value 2. So when we execute it, you will be able to see in class A, I'm able to access private members of class B directly, I mean indirectly. Directly we were facing a problem, so we got a solution of getter and setter methods. Okay, now let's try to see one more meaningful example. Okay, now consider I do have some account class. Here some account class is there in front of you, right? In account class I have some instance members. See, these are instance variables. For each account object, account number, account name and balance would be different. It would be separate. So that's why these are called as instance variables. Likewise, account method has accept account detail method. Okay, so here I am able to set some values like to account number, to name I am passing some value, then some balance I am trying to set. Then you must have question in your mind, if I am able to do it like this, then why there is a necessity to write setter like method? Your question is right, but right now this method is helping me to assign all those values, more than one values at a time. I don't want that. I want some outsider application capable to access an individual variable, or it should be capable to set an individual variable's value at a time. So in that situation, definitely you can go for getter setter methods only. Okay, so right now just to get account object filled with some value, this method is there. Okay, but now let's come to the point, that is if I want to write getter and setter methods for this private member, how we could have drafted that. So for account number I will draft it like this. Getter method I want to draft for account number. So what should be the return type of it? It should be integer. What should be the method name? It should start with a get word followed by account number, a capital. This is the industry best practice. Okay, so this specific method should return some integer type of value. It is right now showing compilation error because I have not written the value from this. Okay, so I am saying return, what is it? This private variable's value. Please understand, this get account number method should return private account number from this specific method. Likewise, we will draft a getter method for, say, name. So I will draft this method as get name in capital. This is the industry standard. Again and again I am telling you. Okay, its return type should be what? It should be string now, because I want to map this getter method for name variable which is string type, right? So its return type I have mentioned in string s should be capital, and here I should return some string. I should return some string. Okay, so what string I should return? See, if I write any string return from this right now, compiler won't say me anything, but this will collapse the purpose of getter method. It should exactly return what is stored in that name variable. Okay, so please return the value of that name variable only. Point to be noted. Okay, likewise, let's draft getter method for float type balance. So here what I should say, that is get balance. So please make sure this getter setter methods internally, when it gets used in huge frameworks like Hibernate and Spring, so this method names has to be accurate as per your industry standard, as per your rule. Okay, if they are not, okay, then your Hibernate framework, Spring framework, okay, probably they won't be able to automatically access the balance value. So please understand, please put efforts to write getter setter methods properly. So though, don't take it casually, it is very important concept in point of view of further things. Okay, so get balance, it is returning, it should return what type of value? Float type of value, because balance is a float type, and I am trying to return whatever is stored inside balance, right? So we have drafted all getter methods, means I made these all three properties as a read-only properties, but I want a facility to set values in those as well, right? So I am just writing a setter method for account number. Okay, So how we should write it? So method name should start with set. Okay, since it is setting something, the return type of that method should be void, but it should have some parameter passed which should be of integer type value. Okay, so I'm saying it is integer number. So I'm trying to assign this account number as a private variable. I'm trying to assign some value to it which I have passed through number. So this is how you will write the setter method for account number. Okay, likewise let me write setter method for name as well. So I'm just drafting it here. Okay, so now its return type would be void. Its return type is void. Method name is what? Set name. It should have some string type parameter. Okay, and that string type parameter should be assigned to this name. So I'm saying name is equal to s, and there we saw something, this dot, when to use it. Now say in case, okay, if the parameter that you are passing, its name, that parameter name is also name, which is same as that of this instance variable. Are you able to observe? Okay, so here if I say it like this, what is going to happen? The same local variable will be initialized by itself, and there is a shadowing of instance variable which is taking place. So to avoid this, if I want to tell to my what you can say environment ki boss, the current object which is under influence right now, with which I have called this set name method, okay, of that current object, instance variable name is to be initialized with a local variable name. So current instance, current object, how you will refer, that is by using this. So this is what you will say in case local variable and instance variable names are same. So we have drafted setter method for name also, and here I am just drafting setter method for balance now. So how it is drafted. So its return type would be void right now. Method name would be set balance, and I should pass some float type value here. Okay, I should pass some float type value here. So I'm saying float balance, and inside this you assign that b to instance variable balance. That's it. So this is how you have drafted getter and setter methods for all private members of account class. Now why I did this? Why I have thought to have getter and setter methods for these all properties of account class? Okay, why? Because in my scenario that we have discussed, so now this account, a particular account, is being used in some Google Pay transaction, suppose. Okay, suppose there is another application called as Google Pay application, and in Google Pay application what is happening, there is one account object created. That account details are already set. Okay, please understand, when we configure our Google Pay account, we already set some account number inside it. No, we configure our account number also. So I'm just considering this is the, what you can say, account obj with details. This is my account ID, this is what my what you can say, account holder name, yeah, account's name, and this is the current balance in that account. Assume this account is being configured with that Google Pay application, and using this account, Google Pay application is going to transfer some amount. Assume. Okay, now Google Pay application is the separate software, is the separate application. Why it should allow, why it should be allowed to access my bank software के account class का private account number? It should not be, no? Okay, so for that purpose I had already declared account details as a private. Are you able to see these members? I have declared them as a private, so that my Google Pay application won't be able to access that account number and all directly here using object of account class. Are you able to see account number, balance, and account holder name? No, that is restricted to access directly. Okay, but Google Pay as a software should be able to access your account number and should be able to see or update your balance, no, but not directly, indirectly, right? So we have already drafted getter and setter methods for that, and here now there is one method drafted inside your Google Pay application, that is transfer amount. See this. What is the method name? Transfer amount. Currently this method is returning nothing. It's returning void. But it is accepting some two parameters. First parameter is what is the amount that you want to transfer. That is integer type amount. And second parameter is which account is involved in this transaction. From which account you want to transfer this. Okay. So to which account we are not bothering about right now. In this application, in this small code, what I am showing you, that is from which account this Google Pay application is doing the transaction. Okay. So that account reference I have passed here. Now see, as you were able to pass integer type reference here. Okay, integer was primitive type. Likewise, when I declared account class, account has become my new data type now. So I am passing that type of value as a parameter. This is what? Passing object as a parameter. Okay. So when this two parameters has got passed, obviously to call this method I am passing some amount to be transferred. See, by creating object of Google Pay app, I am saying this transaction one object. As a part of this transaction, I want to transfer some amount. I am calling this method here. Okay. So when I am calling this method, I am just saying how much amount to be transferred, that is 5,000. And which is the account which is involved in that transaction, means through which account the amount should be deducted. Okay. Which account should be, amount should be deducted. That account I am passing here, that is nothing but account ka object. So this 5,000, after execution, after call of this statement, this 5,000 will be received here as a first parameter, as an amount in your transfer amount method. And this OBJ's reference, okay, ये जो object है, it has been already created into memory. Okay, so in that memory, in your heap memory, wherever it has got created, that reference is there inside this OBJ. Okay, so that reference value will be passed as a parameter, and that reference value will be received here into this account one. So now try to understand, when I come here, AC1, that is account 1, is the another name given to the same object in a memory heap, which was getting pointed by object 1. Okay, so here now let's see, our focus area is what? Now when it comes inside, I am just saying this transaction is in process, like amount is being passed. Okay, but now whichever amount is being passed from whichever account, from which account amount is being passed? From account 1, right? ये account के साथ transaction चल रहा है, right? So from this account amount is being transferred, means what? From this account balance should be deducted by 5,000. So my Google Pay is trying to know what is the current balance of that account. But will it be able to access it directly by saying account 1.balance? No. For that purpose, what it is using to know what is the current balance, what it is using, that is account 1.getBalance. So this account 1.getBalance will fetch, will give what is the current balance in that account. From that 5,000, amount variable, amount parameter is containing what? It's 5,000, no? So that 5,000 would be deducted, and whatever value is a new balance, okay, as a new balance value is being set as a parameter by calling set balance method. Are you able to observe this statement? Are you clear what is happening? If you are not, I can show you in two statements. Here what we can do, we can have, now over there balance is float type. So I am right now just getting it as integer type, because let's check set balance method, what is the parameter type over there. So set balance is taking integer type. Okay, it's integer type, not a float type. So I'm saying integer type value is equal to, what is the current balance? That is account 1 dot get balance. Okay, this is what? The current balance. Okay, now this specific current balance, from this I have to deduct this amount, no? I have to deduct this amount. So if I say it like this, what should be the new balance? Should be set as a new balance. It would be like this, no? I'm calling set method for that purpose. SC1 dot set balance into bracket, what should be the new balance? That is nothing but current balance minus, what is it? The amount. Okay, so same thing I did here. Same thing was drafted here. Okay, what is the error? Get balance. Okay, mismatch, type mismatch. Okay, so get balance, what it is returning? Let's check it. Our balance is a float type, no? So here we made a mistake. Set balance, where it is? Yeah, it's float type, sorry. So we are supposed to get it into float type variable. Okay, because get balance return type is a float type, no? So on left hand side, receive that value into float type variable, and this float type value will be set as a new balance. And after that, I am just showing ki amount transferred successfully. Okay, see, if I am writing it in a free form, here I am not closed the bracket and I am not given semicolon. Further on next line, I am attaching the next statement, and with a new line character. This is what? A new line character. I am saying updated balance of account number, whatever it is. And what is that account number? I mean, updated balance of account number. So here I want to access, what is it? Account number. So I will say get account number. This is how I am able to use account number, which was private, but by using Gator method I try to access it here in other class. So updated balance of account number so and so is rupees, and I am saying get balance of that account number. Okay, so this is how your Google Pay as a separate outsider class is trying to access a private data of your account class indirectly by using getter and setter methods. Okay, now let's run this code first of all. See this in output, what it shows us. So I am calling that method here. Okay, so when that method has got called, it is saying transaction is in process, amount transferred successfully, updated balance of account number so and so is rupees 45,000. Okay, so are you clear how to use getter and setter method in your application, and what is the purpose of writing getter and setter method? Okay, try to understand. Getter and setter method would be drafted, would be mapped to private variables only. If you have private, I mean public member, then there is no need of getter and setter method, no? That public member is directly accessible in outsider class. So please map it only for, what you can say, private members. So what I expect, you can take, what you can say, pause here, and you may try out this simple example. Okay, just try to have one simple class, try to write some private members inside that, and have corresponding getter and setter methods. Just try to execute it once, and then we will go ahead with a second point. Okay, so you may take a pause, I recommend that. Okay, yes, come back guys again. I hope you have tried this getter and setter method practically. Okay, now let's gear up and let's try to understand the important concept. Okay, let's try to understand what is encapsulation. Okay, 100% you may get a question based on these OOPS concepts. One of the question it can be, what do you mean by encapsulation? Okay, let's try to understand that. If you just see encapsulation, if you say it's a meaning, okay, somewhere else in dictionary and all that, so you will find it out like something is getting hidden. Okay, but over here, I mean, if you want to ask it in a OOPS terminology, what is encapsulation? So actually encapsulation is a mechanism of binding data and their behaviors together into single unit like class. Okay, so it is more about binding of data. Okay, so what kind of data? Data means what here? Private members. Okay, so in your class you always have private members. Okay, and that is nothing but your data that you want to bind with something called as public behaviors. Means what? Public methods. So why we are doing that? Why we are trying to bind data in this way? Okay, because we want to restrict that private data to be accessed directly from outsider class. So if outsider class wants to access that data, no, then let them access it through some public behavior. Okay, and that is what we did right now. We wanted to restrict Google Pay application to access my account balance and account number directly. So we made that members private, but that members needs to be updated, no, by somehow, because somebody when uses Google Pay account to, I mean, Google Pay transaction to transfer some data, if they goes for that, then balance should be updated, that we expect. Okay, but we want to restrict Google Pay to access that balance amount and account number directly. So for that purpose, what we did, that private type account number and private type balance, we have bounded them in some public methods like getter and setter methods. So Google Pay application is trying to access that private data indirectly through this public interfaces, this public medium, that is getter and setter methods. So this, what we did is what? We have tried to bound private account number and balance into some public type behaviors, and such kind of binding of private data into your public getter setter methods is nothing but encapsulation. Okay, so it is more towards restricting other class to access members directly. Okay, so this is one of the very important concept, and that you should be able to understand and realize practically. Okay, so what you will try to do now, you will just try to create some other class. Let's create some administration or say authentication class. Okay, so in authentication class, you try to have private type username and private type password. Okay, and you try to have getter setter methods for that. And what I expect, some software, you may write some other class, say you take some what you can say, payroll application. Okay, so payroll application wants to authenticate user by checking his username and password. Yeah, payroll application wants to set some, yeah, you take, instead of payroll application, take some administrator class. Okay, which will help you to set the username and set the password, and at a particular moment where that task wants to validate the particular user, then you may write some task over there. You may try to call getter methods like get user, get password, and try to match your username and password. Means you just try to have getter setter methods drafted for private type username and private type, what you can say, your password variable drafted inside your authenticate class, your authentication class. Okay, now this authentication class is being used, okay, this class object you will use into administration class. In administration class, you will create object of authentication. Using that object, you try to set some user value, username value. Also you try to set some password value, and just try to see what that value has got set, nothing else. As a first level example, you may try to do this. Okay, so I hope you are clear with the concept of encapsulation. Okay, so in today's session, what all we have discussed, can you just remember? So in this session, we had focused on very important aspects. We have seen basic foundation concepts of what is class, what is object, how to draft class, how to create object, how to write methods inside class, right? Also how to invoke that methods using object. We have studied something called as access specifiers. Okay, how they play crucial role while keeping some accessibility restrictions on the data. And now after that we have discussed a very important concept, that is what? Encapsulation. Okay, and how to achieve it. So how you will achieve encapsulation? That is, we'll declare some members in class which I want to hide from outsider class. Okay, I will declare them as a private members, and I will try to bind those private members in a public getter setter methods. Okay, so it is, in other words, if you want to see this encapsulation, you could have what you can say, understand it in this manner also. So internally, how the things are happening, okay, how the things are happening, that is what you can say, that has been done into some something called as your public method. So your Google Pay application is only interested to get the balance. So internally it using which variable name and which variable's value is returning. Okay, that variable is hidden from your Google Pay class. Okay, so that is all about encapsulation. So guys, practice well, do your assignments completed based on this, what you can say, specific concepts that we saw. Okay, thank you.